Hey world! Welcome back to Dragon Fairy History. I'm your host Elijah, and this is my co-host.
Very.
And today we are celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander Month by
Yay.
talking about the first Japanese person to enter the US. Yes,
Cool.
very impressive, very important person that I did not even know existed
Yay.
until recently, which is why, we like to just talk about people that we did not know existed because that's how, history works. That's how we spread knowledge of important people and keep them alive. And obviously our backgrounds represent the traditional Japanese woodcut paintings to celebrate, and our names are in katakana. So, we're all weaved out today. But before we get into it, would you like to say a fun fact about yourself, Mary?
As much as I would love to, I just would love to give that to my co-host first.
Wow. Wow. You always do that. I feel like you do that every time. Every time I ask you, you always just throw it back to me. But what if I do an Uno reverse?
Hmm. What if I were to put an Uno reverse on your Uno reverse? Like a
Oh, hard to fight that back. Well then I guess I must take the L then. And I'll I'll just go first. My fun fact is that I am almost done. I'm almost finished with Guilty Crown, which is an anime that I do not like
you don't like it. Why are you almost done with it then?
because I didn't always not like it. Actually, I was like, in the beginning, I was a little iffy about it, but I wanted to see where it was going. And then it was like getting really interesting, exciting. I liked where the story was going. I liked where the characters were going. But towards the end, now that we're now that we're at the last quarter of it, it kind of just went down. It did an Uno reverse, and now I hate it. But I only have two episodes left, and I need to finish it. I just need to see it through. I need to see how it ends. What about you, Mary? What's your fun fact?
My fun fact is that I'm starting my internship tomorrow.
Yay! Congratulations. That's gonna be really good. Great opportunity, good money,
Yep.
just good experience. Yeah, in this job market, having an internship and I don't know, I think that helps a lot. Like especially if you can turn that internship into a job.
Yeah, that would be great, honestly.
I don't know if that is how I don't know. I just hope for the best for you.
Me too. I hope I can like get a job eventually. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
'Cause even if I don't get hired there, at least still like look good for like other people I could work for.
Yes. Exactly. And you can still use your internship as a reference.
Yeah.
Now that we got our uh fun facts, our little updates out of the way, we can get into talking about a special man named Nakahama Manjiro. To start off, this story starts in 1827 when Nakahama was born in Tosashimizu, Japan, and after his father died, Nakahama needed a way to support his family. And in 1841, at the age of 14, he's still a kid. Nakahama joined a fishing crew to get tuna, thinking he'll sell a bunch of tuna. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and his crew got caught in the Kuroshio, which means black current. And the Kuroshio is one of the three largest currents in the world. So pretty devastating.
That's rough.
And obviously the crew was shipwrecked on an island called Torishima, which, fun fact, literally means bird island. I don't know why it's called that. Maybe there's a bunch of birds there.
Maybe.
But they lived on this island for several months, only eating albatross.
Like albatross.
Albatross is a type of bird. They kind of look like seagulls. They're just white birds.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. But imagine just like catching birds, and that's all you're eating. Sounds rough. Doesn't sound healthy.
For sure.
But fortunately, a whaler from Massachusetts named William Whitfield found the crew and saved them. They attempted to return to Japan but weren't allowed to. Um, this is because Japan at this time had strict isolation laws to prevent foreigners from coming in. And one of these laws, which I think is a little dumb,
I,
states what?
I agree. I know what law you're gonna talk about.
Yeah, you already you can just read my mind. Um, one of these laws was prohibits anyone who leaves Japan could not come back to Japan, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what, you can't just go sail off and then come back?
I know, right? The only thing I could think of is like maybe they're worried that you're like hiding a foreigner with you. So that's why you can't come back. Or like foreigners corrupted you when you left. Or
Yeah.
maybe that's what they're thinking, but I don't know.
Yeah, they're just really extreme I iso isolate
Isolation?
isolatist?
Isolated?
I don't know. Um, but because of this, uh, Whitfield continued his whaling journey with the crew all the way to Hawaii. And the crew chose to get off at Hawaii, but Nakahama became so attached to Whitfield, probably because he saw him as a father figure, since his father passed and he was, still a kid. You know, I think that's kind of what happened. And Nakahama begged to come with Whitfield to America. And Whitfield was so impressed with Nakahama's good nature, hard work, and ability to learn English so quickly that he agreed. And he even like took Nakahama in as his own son. Like he put him in a school at Fairhaven, Massachusetts, where Nakahama would learn English and navigation, and he was immediately accepted into the family, which is kind of surprising for 1840s.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like like the slavery still existed. But a Japanese person, a Japanese kid was like, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, he's family. Um, but obviously, it wasn't all perfect. Um, there was some people not liking him at church. There were people, church members saying that Nakahama should sit with the black people at church.
Right.
But Whitfield and his family immediately were like, "Nah, he's sitting with us. You know, he's part of our family. He will sit with us, our family." So great guy. Um, Immediately like very supportive of Nakahama, fully treated him like a son, and took Nakahama on whaling expeditions with him, and Nakahama assisted Mrs. Whitfield on the farm. So, you know, he had a good life. He had a good life in his teenage years. However, Nakahama felt very homesick and decided to try to go back to Japan. And I'll just pause here to see if you have any questions or maybe some fun facts.
I have like one or like part of a fun fact left. Is that
Early part of a
part of
fun
because you
fact.
like said part of one of my fun facts, so I have like the other part.
Okay.
So like in Fairhaven, he not only learned English and navigation, but he also learned advanced mathematics as well.
Oh, smart boy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's math in.
All right, interesting. A little the first part of the fun fact. I guess we'll get the second part later. Um, but if you have no further questions, then I'll just continue on then. Um, how did Nakahama get back to Japan? Well, he joined the gold rush in California, which gave him the funds to travel to Hawaii. And once there, he reunited with his former shipmates, and they all traveled to Japan together and were very determined to get past any like security or whatever. They were just very determined to get into Japan no matter what. And finally, in 1851, they landed in Okinawa and were immediately arrested for violating isolation laws. And while locked away, many people came to visit Nakahama for several months. And this is because everyone was so eager to hear about his adventures in America, which Nakahama proudly, willingly told them. Uh, if you look at the context here, everyone in Japan had no idea what was happening outside Japan. Like it was like another planet. And so obviously someone who like ventured out would bring a lot of attention. And it makes sense that everyone was so excited and curious on what it's like in America and stuff. So I kind of understand that and find it kind of funny. Um, but something, why did I say but? In addition, in 1853, Nakahama finally reunited with his family. Great for him.
Yeah.
The Japanese government decided to release him because they were having issues with a certain foreigner, I will mention later, trying to get in, and they decided that Nakahama was pretty useful to them as a diplomat because he's like the only one who knew English like fluently, like very well. And he understood Americans and he had knowledge that no one else in Japan had. So his skills were pretty useful. And when this happened, after he was released, reunited with his family, Nagahama adopted the way of, why did I say that way? He adopted the path of a samurai and became a professor at what would become Tokyo University. So he completely like reinvented himself, started a new life for himself. And his experience abroad became pivotal when Commodore Matthew Perry arrived in Japan in 1854, and Nakahama was immediately called up to help understand Perry's demands and intentions. Um, they came to, what's it called? Like a treaty? Forgot what it was called, but like an agreement. I think it is a treaty I think that's the word I'm thinking of.
A tree.
But basically, it ended Japanese isolation, and uh, Perry made sure there were ports that he could use for trade and just, expanding his territory. And in 1870, Nakahama was sent to Europe as a diplomat to learn more about military science during the Franco-Prussian War. And on his way home, he stopped by Fairhaven and saw his American family again, which is very nice. I'm glad he got another chance to see them and you know come back as this whole new person. Um, Unfortunately, after his return to Japan, he suffered a brain hemorrhage and left politics to live a modest and quiet life in the care of his sons. And he eventually died in 1898. So that is the story of Nakahama Manjiro and just his life, the things he did, his role in the politics between Japan and the Western world. You have any questions? Anything you're confused about?
No, but I do have some more fun facts to share
All right.
about him. So, one other thing is that the captain who rescued him from the ship, Whitfield, nicknamed him John just to make it easier for him to pronounce. And
Of course.
He went by John Manjiro, but then it later got even more shortened to John Mung because a lot of Americans found Manjiro difficult to pronounce. Americans, it's classic.
Stupid Americans. Well, we can pronounce Bartholomew. We can pronounce uh Schmidt. We can we can pronounce what's another Elizabeth. We can pronounce what's another hard. Come on, Mary, give me another hard English word. Give me a hard English name. Um um um
Frederick?
Mc, McCormick,
McCormick? Oh yeah, that's
Macaulay,
McConnelly.
McConnelly.
I've heard that name.
I've never heard that before. That's news to me. Um, Absinthe. We can say all that. We can say like these German names.
So we can't say Manjiro for some reason.
Manjiro. Like crazy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be Googling difficult English names later.
And another fun fact about him is he was actually able to draw like maps of what he's seen, like coastlines, ports, and sea routes. Like he was able to draw like maps of all these places, like from complete like memory. And he was also teaching English before English schools were common in Japan. Because of course, like knowing English in Japan was not common back then at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
They
he was like the only one.
yeah, they kept themselves super separate from anybody, clearly, with their insane laws back then. He also brought back like Western culture with him, like he taught Japanese people about stuff like democracy, which of course was not a thing there
No,
back then.
no.
And yeah, and he also almost got executed when he returned to Japan for his crimes, but he didn't clearly. But
Yeah. Do you know why they decided not to execute him? Was it just because like they thought he could be useful?
yeah, that's basically what I read is that like he was able to convince like authorities that his experiences were beneficial to them and that he could help them. And that's the only thing that kept him alive. If wasn't able to convince them, they would have just executed him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, very convincing man, I guess.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you think like why Japan had isolating laws.
Yeah, it's a bit sus. Because usually like isolating laws come from like them wanting like control over people. But I don't know if that's necessarily what it was, because it seems like it was more like a purity culture type of thing back then.
Yeah, I think they were very uh what's the word? Homogeneous.
Yeah.
Yes, they're very homogeneous, and I feel like it kind of reflects. I feel like this idea, the idea of Japan being isolated is like can still be seen today. Like even today, um, like I guess it's more due to just over tourism that people are like starting to like not like foreigners coming in and um uh just like yeah, very homogenous. Like if anyone like comes in and like decides to live there, then they're like gonna be considered an outsider like forever. Like anyone who moves to Japan is like not considered Japanese ever.
Exactly.
So I don't know, just like these isolating ideas can be seen today still.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it has to do with somewhat like a superiority complex in a different way than like white people have like a superiority complex where
Yeah.
but I feel like it's still somewhat the case there.
Yeah. I just know that Japan is very collectivist and um they're very like strong about tradition, and I think anyone that comes in and starts going like, "Oh no, individuality instead of collectivism," and then they're like, "Oh no, no, no."
Why do
And
you think
then like I don't know, like just like the idea of like modernity being like I don't know. There's always a struggle between modernity and traditionalism in Japan, because foreign powers kind of brought in modernity by force,
that?
and then like Japan just kind of adapted to that out of just like necessity, but then they were still trying to hold on to tradition, which unfortunately, like you can't really do both. Like there are ways to like, keep traditions alive, but I feel like there are some things that Japan was trying to hold on to too much that really just was not working with modernity. And even today, still like they're still doing that kind of thing of like we're trying to be modern and cool, but like also not.
Yeah.
Like obviously that it's not like saying everyone is like that. Like a lot of the younger generation uh is like more open-minded and Um, I mean, that's just like everyone in the world. Like, I think young people everywhere are just like more open-minded. Just a generational thing. Um, but I like majority of Japan and like I think more importantly the laws in Japan and like the culture is very collectivist. And so that would make it hard for someone like me, uh, very individual minded person, to live there.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone, I feel like people know about Matthew Perry. Like I've heard of Matthew Perry many times.
Me too, yeah.
Have you heard of Matthew Perry?
I've definitely like heard the name.
Yeah, see you've heard the name Matthew Perry. Um the white man, but you never hear about the Japanese man that was also there with Matthew Perry
Mm,
negotiating.
how convenient.
Yeah. How interesting how we remember the white man who was an imperialist and like invaded Japan, but we don't remember the epic kind Japanese man who like changed life in Japan
Yeah, how strange.
and changed like the politics of Japan and like the foreign politics. Wow.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. That see that's why we're here, Mary. That's why we're talking about him because no one else will.
yeah.
I'm curious, what's like your favorite thing that you learned about uh Nakahama?
Hmm. Honestly, I feel like the coolest thing I learned about him was him being able to draw maps from memory. That's just so insane in my head. He'll like pass by stuff and be like, yeah, I can map everything out and just draw it and then here it is and it's like right. Like, never in a million years could I do that. Even with maps today, I would be
No,
like,
I think that's a sign of autism right there. That has to
honestly,
be some neurodivergent brain. Because I don't know who can do that.
seriously.
Yeah, like someone has to be very visual.
Honestly, yeah. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.
And don't forget to comment anything you want us to talk about in the future. Sayonara!